Okay, then. So this is a demonstration which is going to find an extremely limited audience, which is um, in line with all the other things that I've put up about pattern betting over the last few months. And I'm not really put off by that because this exercise is number one, a matter of establishing a record, and number two, an exercise for me that enables me to practice and get better at baccarat and blackjack. I've been practicing blackjack pretty much since I was a school kid, so that's a lot of years, I promise you. Baccarat, I'm fairly new to. I switched to baccarat in only one casino near where I lived because they barred me from playing blackjack anymore. And so I just transferred my chips and my talents and my determination and my strategy to Baccarat. And it kind of worked out well because my favorite among all the blackjack dealers, a guy named Steve, was switched over to Baccarat about the same time because he was having trouble. He loved dealing blackjack, and the tips, of course, were tremendous. But he had trouble standing for very long, and so they said to him, "Okay, well, we'll give you mini back, and you can sit there, you know." So that's what that was all about. Lovely, lovely guy, and we had many, 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 many chats about the strange way that people play baccarat and the different approaches taken by Asians in particular, and sort of players of various different sort of stripes, types, colours, creeds, ethnicity, whatever you want to call it. And it was really interesting. One thing that stands out actually is that Dana White, whose leg I have pulled a few times, or maybe I've done even a bit more than that. But Dana White is the close friend of the president, who obviously learned truth at his knee because he told a story in front of cameras and lights and all the rest of it that he'd beat one casino in Las Vegas for over $1 million a night at baccarat for 23 nights in a row. Um, One of the things that Dana said was that women in particular, Oriental women, Asian women in particular, were fierce at baccarat. And interestingly, back then, and this was years ago when I was having long chats with Steve about baccarat, he said, one of the weird things is you never see an Asian woman playing in any of these casinos at any of the games. You'll see Asian guys coming in all the time, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, whatever. But you'll never see. It used to be the term used to be Oriental. I think that's now out. One of my grandkids, I remember one day sternly said to me, "We don't call them Orientals, Grandpa. We call them Asians." And I said, "Well, that's no bloody use, is it? Afghans are Asians, Indians are Asians. If you call them Asians, then how can you tell one from the other?" Anyway, that's entirely beside the point. But let me just get to this thing. I'm going to show you shoes one by one, and on the right-hand side, you'll see the Excel tracker telling us exactly where we're at. And I would be delighted if somebody could offer me an explanation for these results that does not credit pattern betting with being a viable and sensible and effective and consistently profitable strategy. It does encounter trouble a few times, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Oh, something I always forget is with this thing, I have to click on the target and then there we go. Okay, so that's, we did 1366, which is the first, and that was okay. And I'll just go slowly down to these things, but you can always go back and forth, and if I blather too much, you can speed up and do all the stuff that you love to do. But yeah, I mean, there are going to be people out there who say, "Oh yeah, well, obviously he knew what was coming. That's how come he managed to bet the way he did, and that's how come he managed to win more when he won than he lost when he lost." And it is so extraordinary to me how many people resist that. And yet, you can watch it all the time, not just with my demos, but with the so-called professionals on YouTube with their gambling channels. The only time that they win is when, or almost the only time, unless they get very lucky, the only time they walk away with money in their pockets is if they win more bets than they lose. Otherwise, because they bet randomly, they're all over the place. Anyway, what's that for? And the next one. And the next one. And so people are going to come out with all sorts of stupid explanations for why this works, particularly the folks who've got an agenda that they don't tell us about, the ones who are working for the casino biz, and their brief, their remit, as they like to say in the UK, is to trash any form of progressive betting. And I think there's a guy doing stuff mostly on roulette, a guy called Casino Matchmaker. I call him Casino Match Faker because he trashed pattern betting with a very rude comment on one of my demos, and then went on to promote, of all things, Oscar's Grind on his channel. I mean, he's pitching all kinds of ridiculous strategies, completely, sort of doomed because of the 2.9% house advantage. And if you don't bet progressively against negative expectation, you will get the shit kicked out of you. There we go. I don't mean to be crude. Mind you, I mean, compared to some of these guys, Mr. Dana White, for instance, and Steve Will Do It, and what's his face, Cody Burnett, who effing blind all over the place. It's just sort of standing. In fact, most of them do. There's to Jen Dolt, and one or two others. They're and I'm not afraid of profanity. I'm not a prude, but I think, come on, guys. I'll let fly every so often, but I don't consider shit to be very much by way of profanity these days. It's it's in common usage. God, and some of the women I've encountered, blimey O'Reilly, they can swear better than most men, I think, including my daughter. Dearly as I love her, she has a bit of a potty mouth from time to time. I don't know why, but it's always a bit of a shock when it comes from a woman, That's where are we now? We're 21 shoes in. And, there has to be a reason for this constantly producing a profit, but nobody's offering it, mainly because nobody's watching these things. But I do have a little core of people who are out there on my behalf, but and they're really great. And I'll probably put this on the blog for people to think about. The blog's been there for 15 years or more, and I toss a new post up every so often. But I think you get the general idea, it's and this, Baccarat Win Pro, I get people sort of saying, well, it's a sim, so it's not the same as the real thing. Well, it bloody well is. And the people who say that need to put their money where their mouth is, or their funny money where their mouths are, and sit down and play the sim and beat it the way that I do, and good luck with that, guys. So there you are. That's the end of the 30. And we've got a 19% hold overall of all the action, which is a total of about 750,000, something like that. It's about 750,000. So, we've held 9, and then this is more detail on that. That's the chart that shows you progress. And yeah, we get a couple of little drops here, one here, one here, one here, one here. But let's face it, there is no doubt that pattern betting is in control throughout this thing. And if you look at this down here, this is tracking the bankroll as it grows, and the green shadings simply mean, okay, that's the best to date. And there, obviously, we slip back a bit, and then we go back to best to date, best to date, best to date, slip back, bum, 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 bum. And then along here, 30%, 30%, all the time we're in in hold terms, we're in, sort of in double figures and high double figures too. Not just 10 or 12%, but kicking ass, as you Americans like to say. So, that's the story. Take it or leave it, burn it, throw it away, ignore it. But my advice to you is, remember, you must win more when you win than you lose when you lose. You must know when to run away. Don't be shy about it. Just, if you get to a situation where you're uncomfortable or stressed or you feel unduly threatened, back away from it. Move everything. You're down and you're out and your chips and your high comfort level, because it's important to have that. You need to have confidence and you need to feel right before you start putting big money out on the table. Move it all to another location, whether it's baccarat or blackjack or whatever. My rule always used to be I would start at roulette if I could find a single zero table, which was not very often in Nevada in those days. But if I could find one, I would start off low there, and then as soon as the bets got a little bit sticky, anything much over 100 or so, I'd then move everything over to blackjack, or later on in later years also to baccarat and to craps as well. Betting the the even money bets at craps, and I'm still not at all comfortable at a craps table. Usually, what I do every time I started off betting at a craps table, I'd lean over to someone next to me, make sure that it looked like they knew what they were doing, and then sort of say to them, "Could you help me out here? I haven't the faintest idea what's going on." And I'd always get help. I mean, people in casinos are usually, very even-tempered, very cheerful, very friendly, and all the rest. It's only the losers who turn nasty, the people who turn tables over and lunge at dealers and misbehave themselves in all sorts of stupid ways. But anyway, they got it. You've got 30 shoes, and I'll do the next 30 in the same way, so that'll be in about, I don't know, whatever. I don't actually remember exactly. All I was trying to do was to find out, okay, so the first one was the 3rd, and the last one was on the 16th. So in about 2 weeks, I'll be able to do this again. Oh joy, you're saying. Right? Oh delight. Yeah, so there we go. Well, I'm done, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.